begging me to call him.
Okay, look, y'all, we gonna go through this thing together, man. I'm trying something out different. Um, this is the mayor of Chicago, the governor of Illinois, and various members of the higher politicos of the Chicago area, and they're giving a response to Donald Trump deciding to I guess you could say unleash or release ICE and the UN, not the UN, the National Guard, and also imagine some federal agents as well. You know, some of the good old FBI fellows. You know, to aid and assist the the regular Chicago police. You know, because this is the Tuesday after the Labor Day weekend, and they sincerely hope so badly that there wouldn't be a heavy and just go right out and say a heavy use of gunplay, or death toll. There would be a heavy death toll. They said they well, I should say they said it was reported by the news that there were a couple of what is defined as mass shootings, and I think they remarked that at least five people were dead, maybe more than five. I know that the count of bodies, well, the count of bullets that made contact was in the neighborhood of like 50 something, 60 something, near 60. But yeah, the good old mayor and the governor. We'll start with it because they started with the governor. The governor is playing the long kind of, well, running the long game, because I'm sure he plans on being trying to run for president. Considering that, you know, if you think about it, the eligible picks, or I guess elections in the current potential candidates for presidency underneath the Democratic Party are kind of slim. But yeah, this is just Pritzker and Brandon Johnson and Perry Wrinkle. This is where I've been up in the government for a minute. But listen, just listen. Well, I'm getting started. Get started, baby. Started, greedy. Get started already, greedy.
Good afternoon. First, I want to address the president's unhinged remarks a few minutes ago, begging me.
See that shit right there, man. Why you got to use the words these people use? They incite and they incite acrimony. You know, unhinged. And he called, man, come on, dude, you're not that tough.
To call him. No, I will not call the president, asking him to send troops to Chicago. I've made that clear already. I know this has been an unsettling and difficult 10 days for the people of Chicago and Illinois. I'm going to do my best to share what we know as of today and speak frankly to the people of Illinois. Rumors have been swirling about what the White House has planned, and sifting fact from fiction has been increasingly difficult because Donald Trump's administration is not working in coordination with the city of Chicago, Cook County, or the state of Illinois. I want to take a moment at the top of my remarks to note how truly extraordinary it is for the federal government to refuse to coordinate with.
Wait, just one moment. Is the issue that they are not coordinating, or it's a failure to cooperate? I mean, with the energy that you're presenting today, I mean, even you would imagine, and this is just from observation, you would imagine that you would probably balk against him trying to balk against, be against any type of collaboration with the current president. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. Let me get it back together here, because so you think about it. This man, he's, like I said, he's playing the long game to run for president. So he's at this behavior. He's never been this this way that he is, even through the COVID in Illinois, all kind of things. But he's never been this tough. So let us continue.
Local law enforcement and government. Our state police regularly works with the FBI, the ATF, the DEA to go after gangs and gun runners and drug cartels. Under previous White House administrations, we regularly received notice and worked together on crime operations.
Well, you would
This
think,
city
you would
has
kind of
hosted
think that,
major political conventions.
hold on, you would think that if you have to deal with it that much, that you would perhaps consider coordinating with the federal government to somehow quell the crime and the illegal weapons transport from the red states. As Brandon Johnson said, from the guns coming from the red states, and the dumb niggas in the blue state just pick them up and get to shooting. Man, I don't understand. I guess it's so socialized into Black Americans, African Americans, and even to the point where it causes a dispute between the foreign melanated people, whether it be African or whatever region outside of America, of a person who might perceive this generally as black. These things, I don't know, man. These things kind of like become, the propaganda becomes somewhat believable. But then, if there's also things that sort of corroborate the things that are being considered as propaganda, then you really can't say too much.
Flashpoint events like the NATO conference, and huge sports and entertainment gatherings over the years and across many presidential administrations. All those events required significant coordination between all levels of government. Some, like the Democratic National Convention last year, even required a limited deployment of the Illinois National Guard for broad security purposes, including especially preventing terrorism. For that 4-day event, there were conversations and meetings that began 1 year before the convention between my office, the mayor's office, the county board president's office, CPD, state police, the FBI, the Secret Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. The mayor and I were briefed at the highest levels of government, and we pledged unwavering support in the effort to pull off a convention that kept attendees safe and protected the rights of all citizens to express their First Amendment rights. The convention was a true success because of that collaboration. Fighting crime requires...
So what he's saying is is that the National Guard is good enough to protect Democratic politicians at the DNC convention. However, when it comes to just protecting people that are literally getting offed on the street, then that's okay. Now, you have those individuals that kind of push this narrative a bit too hard. There are law-abiding black citizens in Chicago that are hardworking and have amassed savings and, material pleasures and goods of that nature. It's hard to defend against, having the federal government have to come in and help you protect your state or city. When you have videos of citizens, well, I don't know whether tourist citizens or whatever, getting beaten down in the street, and just like this past Labor Day weekend, you have 50, 60 shootings.
Coordination. We have experienced nothing like that over the last several days and weeks. On Saturday, the head of the Illinois State Police received a phone call from CBP's Chief Patrol Agent, Gregory Bovino, indicating that ICE would be deploying to Chicago. It's the first outreach we have received from the Trump administration on this topic. Bovino was short on details and long on rhetoric. So, in the absence of significant federal coordination, we've gathered information from unauthorized patriotic officials inside the government and from well-sourced reporters about Donald Trump's plan, which is to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago.
Okay. Now he said they're relatively smooth. So what he said is that has resources within the government that had to secretly tell him, and well sourced reporters. It's not as if the media doesn't have any type of connection or resources behind it in order to make sure they are privy to such information. It's I don't know. There's a lot of truth and there's a lot of falsehood in the upper levels of government. I think everybody's playing. I still believe that it's still one particular group of interest, whether you call it the system of white supremacy, or whether you call it the globalist, the dark, what they say, the dark, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. It is a system power, and pretty much perceivably, but nothing's beyond harm. An indestructible system of power. And it works well because there's the two-party dynamic. You have the red and the blue, and it's just, I guess it's like a color coordinated system. Because black, you can't have white and black. That resounds too much along the racial lines. But you could have the red and the blue, and it still rides along the racial lines because they blood and they cousin in the name of politics.
I'm aware that the President of the United States likes to go on television and beg me to call and ask him for troops. I find this extraordinarily strange, as Chicago does not want troops on our streets. I also have experience asking the President for assistance, just to have the rug pulled out from underneath me when execution meets reality. I refuse to play a reality game show with Donald Trump again. What I want are the federal dollars that have been promised to Illinois and Chicago for violence prevention programs that have proven to.
There we go. There we go with it. We've reached the ultimate destination. What happened to the money? We need some more money for programs and resources. They didn't say resources. Let me put words in that man's mouth. We need some more federal money. You don't have to send troops here that also cost federal money. You can just send us a check, and we'll just figure out a way to divvy it in the name of preventing violence in Chicago. That have proven, he's going to say they've proven effective. The proof of effectiveness is identified in the results. We've seen the results this past weekend and also prior weekends before, Governor.
Work. That is money that Illinois taxpayers send to the federal government, and it's an insult to any and every citizen to suggest that any governor should have to beg the president of any political party for resources owed their people. I'd like to ask a question of my own, and it's one the press should be asking as well. When did we become a country where it's okay for the U.S. president to insist on national television that a state should call him to beg for anything? Especially something we don't want. Have we truly lost all sense of sanity in this nation, that we treat this as normal? As I have done since becoming governor, I've been reflecting on my responsibilities to the people of Illinois. And one of those duties is to share with the public exactly what we know. In the coming days, we expect to see what has played out in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., to happen here in Chicago. First,
It's kind of audacious that he would say that, speak in regards to the federal government about resources that are owed to us. Chicago sits at, I think they say $1 billion budget deficit, and partially that money was spent on the comforts and the well, I guess the I don't want to say, well, I guess you might as well say welcoming. If somebody, if I come over here through, I guess you could at least say hell and high water to reach a foreign land illegally. If someone's offering me food, clothing, and shelter, and also pretty much cash resources, then I'll be glad to come. I mean, now you got to take in consideration also that I imagine that I guess they will have to reach some form of diplomatic impasse between Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine was actually some of the first immigrants that were brought here. But let me not get out of this. So I just found it interesting how this person would say the resources. And, next we're going to have Brandon Johnson talking about whatever he's going to be talking about. Uh, You'll find some way to racialize it, but all the time he used the resources for the niggas for people who have not spent a dime on land, paid any taxes, or went any type of trauma, generational trauma.
Donald Trump is positioning armed federal agents and staging military vehicles on federal property, such as the Great Lakes Naval Base. It is likely those agents will be with ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, the Department of Homeland Security, and other similarly situated federal agencies. Many of these individuals are being relocated from Los Angeles for deployment in Chicago. We believe that staging that has already begun started yesterday and continues into today. Second, unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles with masks are planning to raid Latino communities.
They had already gotten the numbers. The numbers were already coming in. I mean, they already had enough numbers by Saturday to I guess, to reasonably argue to come up here. And as far as you got identified, the people they come in unmarked car, man, come on, man. Chicago, they used to call them the slickers. They was running through the nigga neighborhoods when the projects were still standing. The detectives used to pull up on niggas and pat their pockets, for either in the name of duty or in the name of personal gratification and gain. So these things it's like, and then it's going to get even more discussed because I identify as I am black, by I guess no I guess I got the idea that maybe I'll just start scratching out black and put other and write in nigga. I identify as nigga, so it's like, well, uh, the way that they talking about the immigrants, the loving and protective way, they don't let the unidentified ICE officers with police written across their chests come out on immigrants and take them where they went through they lived through much dangerous situations just crossing the border, I imagine. And if it was so bad in their land, I guess, for them to re-grand out their land, I guess it was bad as well. The irony of all this is that, like I said, these people they're going to come after, the next three people they're going to come after him are black folks. So let me hurry up and get past him, because he's full of shit. He's just trying to run for president. That's all that is, baby. It's all in the game.
And say they're targeting violent criminals. As we saw in Los Angeles, a very, very small percentage of the individuals they will target will be violent criminals. Instead, you are likely to see videos of them hauling away mothers and fathers, traveling to work or picking up their kids from school. Sometimes they will detain, handcuff, and haul away children. They are law-abiding.
Well, since you said that they're more than likely won't be many violent criminals they'll pick up. They'll just be picking up folks that are not supposed to be here. You can dress it up with their mothers and brothers and whatever. They also drunk motherfuckers that party on the weekend probably sell drugs amongst their own kind. Probably whoop up on their bras and shoot and extort anything else a typical criminalized person might do, even if there are amongst a group of law-abiding citizens, just like the black folks. All black folks ain't thugs and killers and murderers and rapists and thieves. But I digress.
Individuals who pay taxes and contribute to the communities who are safe going to work and attending mandatory immigration check-ins. In other words, they're following the law. We have reason to believe that Stephen Miller chose the month of September to come to Chicago because of celebrations around Mexican Independence Day that happen here every year. It breaks my heart to report that I'm told ICE will try and disrupt community picnics and peaceful parades.
It sounds like strategy to me, buddy. It depends on how much they want to party and celebrate it. You want to duck and dodge the Freedom Riders, or you want to go and hang out at the parade. It's a personal choice.
Let's be clear, the terror and cruelty is the point, not the safety of anyone living here. Third, as lawful citizens exercise their First Amendment rights, Trump and his team will be looking for any excuse to put active duty military on our streets, supposedly to protect ICE. We have reason to believe that the Trump administration has already begun staging the Texas National Guard for deployment in Illinois. I want to be very clear on this point, and I want to speak directly to the press right now. We know before anything has happened here that the Trump plan is to use any excuse to deploy armed military personnel to Chicago. If someone flings a sandwich at an ICE agent, Trump will try and go on TV and declare an emergency in Chicago. I'm imploring everyone, if and when that happens, do not take the bait. Lastly, after about 30 days or so, we believe that they will pick up all of those resources that they send here to Chicago and send them to the next city in a blue state, ignoring cities in red states with higher violent crime rates than we have. None of this is about fighting crime or making Chicago.
Well, you got that right, buddy. You said it yourself. You know, they're going to send all the ICE folks, to pick up all the people, all the fathers and the mothers, and the hardworking, decent, law-abiding, whatever. So now it's time to run into the protester play, where they have put all the paid protesters and things of that nature. You hear this man, and and as much as the conservative channels and the conservative channels talk about what about black on black crime? It's just horrible in Chicago. Chicago is just a running reference. As much as they reference it, and as much as the MSNBC seem to try to minimize it, he stated here that it's not so much that the Trump deployment of whomever is not so much to find the violent criminals in Chicago. Those of us, if they really wanted to stop black folk from killing black folks, it's relatively a simple solution. But it's not so much for them. For the stereotypical stereotypical Chicago violent criminal. It's for the protection of the immigrants. So that should be the cue for any reasonable minded, unless you just want to smoke, rational minded African American Negro, uh, person of colored, Negro or nigger folk that I identify myself, that will give reasonable enough evidence for you to keep your monkey ass out the way. Stay out of the middle of them people business. They like to say, well, when they came for them, I was silent, but then they came for me. Man, well, we the ones that they came for and they was silent. So we just gonna run it like that. Now since y'all was silent, get to talking and get to putting your little protesting things together and see whether that makes a difference. Cause it damn sure ain't made no difference for the niggas and their investment in the past 40, 50, 60 years. The civil rights movement. Okay, whatever you say. I mean, you just want equal rights and equal protection. Excuse me. We just wanted equal rights and equal protection under law. And still, that looks sketchy for the African American, black, Negro, person of color, a nigga folk like myself today. Let us continue.
Safer. None of it. For Trump, it's about testing his power and producing a political drama to cover up for his corruption. If you need any proof of this, that it's all a big show, well, look at who they're putting in charge. Gregory Bovino, a guy who desperately wants to be a reality TV star. He led the cruel adventures of ICE in Los Angeles, and he's been sent here to do the very same thing. Go look at his social media. He terrorizes innocent people and then posts on TikTok edits of himself. Apparently, this is a Trump administration norm, because the last time we saw staged major ICE raids in Chicago, they sent Dr. Phil here to embed with the agents so he could get views and likes for his social media. When Bovino pulled these stunts in LA, people got hurt. 2 innocent people died trying to flee his masked agents. ICE opened fire on a vehicle without dangerous provocation. They detained a disabled 15-year-old, drew their guns on him. They have ripped mothers away from their babies and handcuffed 10-year-olds. In Washington, they pulled over firefighters.
But have they shot 12-year-old boys in the park playing by themselves with a toy gun? Have they shot a man walking, I guess, backwards with his hands behind his head, Terrence Crutcher? Have they shot a black male that was beloved by children because he worked at a school? Did they shoot a black man to death in front of his girlfriend and fiance and the child and a little girl? Did they do that, Governor Pritzker? Rest in peace. To was that for no? Was that for Lando Castillo? Shout out to that man mama, cause that man mama came online and gave a severe tongue lashing to whatever it is, the lawyer industrial complex that had, where they have the mush mouth Benjamin Crump and, Jasmine Crockett tried to ride on, riding on that train for a little while. You know what that is. But yeah, did they do all that, did they do all that to the poor immigrants, Governor Pritzker? Did you know? Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. So sad. So sad.
Headed to fight an actual wildfire and detain 2 of the firefighters on duty in that effort. And they want to bring all of that to Chicago. During one of Bovino's raids, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol's own data indicated that their officers had no prior knowledge of criminal or immigration history for 77 of the 78 people arrested. Again, this is not about crime. More and more reports around these raids include people who were stopped or detained because of how they look, and not because of any threat to the public. If any of this was about dealing with the complexities of a broken immigration system, then Trump would have had the Congress Trump Republicans control write and pass a comprehensive immigration bill. Not only has that not happened, there is no talk of any such effort on the horizon. I know how Donald Trump thinks because I've been governor during both of his terms.
Man, they've been talking. They've been talking this comprehensive immigration reform bill shit since Barack Obama was in office, hollering that dreamer shit. Meanwhile, Obama was, he deported his fair share of illegal migrants, immigrants, aliens, however you want to refer to it. Where was all this energy then, good Governor Pritzker? Were you? I don't know. I don't think he was. No, you say he was only the governor during both the Trump administration. Like that fucking makes a difference. But let us continue.
He has surrounded himself with groveling yes men who are too weak to restrain his most violent and unhinged impulses, or who share those impulses. As a governor who cares about the well being of my people, I can't live in a fantasy land where I pretend Trump is not tearing this country apart for personal greed and power. I have to deal in facts, and here they are. Crime is down in Chicago. Murders are down by almost 50% in the last 4 years. Shootings are down 57%.
All right, fuck all this. That's enough from dude. Let's go a little bit further, cause whatever. This is just down. It's down. Down doesn't necessarily mean stopped or ceased. That sounds good, but it doesn't mean stopped or ceased.
To gun violence. I've been in consistent contact with law enforcement and managed our state through some of its toughest moments. That has informed our comprehensive, evidence-based approach to crime, hiring legal to address any rational person.
Do not want or need military occupation in our city. We do not want or need militarized immigration enforcement.
We don't give a damn what you want, Brandon. Brandon. No, we don't give a damn. We do not need, nigga. Shut up with that bullshit. But no, I ain't trying to get laid. We gonna listen to Brandon a little bit.
In our city. We have been clear on that. Continue to take every single measure that we can to protect our people from these threats. However, I also want to be clear about this. There are measures that the federal government can take right now to help continue to drive down.
Pardon me, Brandon, but who exactly do you mean when you say our people and protecting them from threats? Who do you define as our people? I mean, like I said, I'm a law-abiding citizen of Cook County, Illinois. Um, I had no fear or danger when I drive by the police. Now, once upon a time in my life, shit, I might have about 30 dimes in the car with me in Nashville, Tennessee, and everybody know about Metro Nashville Police, man. Shit, they got me a couple of times. They got me one last good time. But that's another story. Who are these people? Now you're going about to start talking about. Now it's about to become about the beggings of the money. So let me continue with my guy here. Y'all guy.
Violence and crime in our city. We need the federal government to stop the endless flow of guns into our state and into our city. Chicago police officers have taken more than 24,000 guns, illegal guns, off the streets of Chicago since I've taken office. Over 24,000 illegal guns taken off the streets of Chicago since I've been in office. They have worked hard every single day to make our city safer, and they've made historic progress. However, we will never be able to end gun violence in Chicago as long as the president continues to allow 10.
Now wait a minute. Now before I even moved to Chicago, I think maybe when I first got here, they were talking about how there were trains, abandoned trains, and they were full of guns and other beef. They would say Michael Jordan tennis shoes and some trains that they robbed. So, like he said, that they've been taking guns off the streets, blah blah blah. But all through the years, even through the height of the drill, music shit, they was taking guns. But it was still shooting going on because you think about it, guns are as about as plentiful as potato chips in America. So what he's saying here is that the federal government, blah blah blah. No, sir. You have the mayor of a city has the duty to protect that city. The governor of a state that holds that city has the duty to protect that state from whatever I guess territorial threats. Because hell, you think that you want the federal government, you want the government to be all encompassing? Isn't that what you guys are arguing against right now? The government is being too invasive.
Tens of thousands of guns to be trafficked into our state and our city. The vast majority of guns do not come from Chicago. They are not made in Cook County. They are not bought in the state of Illinois. These guns come from red states. They are coming from Indiana. They are coming from Mississippi. They are coming from
I just realized what this nigga just did. He pulled the old school. We don't bring the dope into America because the dope come from somewhere else. I can't stand dude, man. He always utilizes he's blackety black when it's convenient. Now, when he was giving all that money out to immigrants, it was, he was ready to kick niggas outside the community center. They got a tradition of going to the community center, the kids and the old folks. He was ready to make them community centers into shelters for illegal migrants.
Louisiana. And that is the harsh reality, whether Republicans like it or not. Occupying our city will do nothing to solve this problem. No matter how much work we do or how hard we work, whether it's expanding our detectives bureau, investing in community violence intervention, and addressing the root causes of crime, none of it will ever be enough until the president decides to end the mass trafficking of guns in our city. For every gun that the Chicago Police Department fights to get off the streets, 2 or 3 more new guns come into our city. With switches, we have taken down gun stores in Indiana that illegally sell thousands of guns to traffickers who move them into Chicago.
Wait a minute, Brandon. You said we have. Hold. Let me take that back a little bit. He say we have taken down gun shops in Indiana. Uh, you're in Illinois. You're in Cook County, Illinois. Uh, Illinois. How you? What do you? When you say we, what do you mean by we? Are you a Frenchman, Kimbo Sabi?
With switches, we have taken down gun stores in Indiana.
Go back far back.
Fights to get off the streets, 2 or 3 more new guns come into our city. Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people. We have sued Glock over their semi-automatic guns that are easily converted into automatic weapons with switches. We have taken down gun stores in Indiana that illegally sell thousands of guns to traffickers who move them into Chicago. But whatever we shut down, and whenever we do this, another one pops up.
Okay, you say you sued Glock, the folks who make the switch. Now a whole lot of niggas died by that switch. Uh, so when Glock, I guess they'll ultimately make some form of payout. What y'all gonna do with the money? I remember when the tobacco company was sued. I thought that cause hell, still smoke cigarettes today. I thought that when they sued to the tobacco company and they got all that money from the tobacco company, they figure out some way to help the poor addicted smoker. I don't know where I didn't see any part of that money or any type of benefit from them. I guess maybe I should call some of those numbers 1-800-QUIT or some shit like that. Maybe, but. I digress. When Yasu get your money from Glock, who gonna get the money? What y'all gonna do with the money?
The governor has worked extremely hard to strengthen our gun control laws across our state. And as much as we would like to, we cannot send officers across state lines to stop this problem at the source. We only have jurisdiction over our own city. The governor only has jurisdiction over our state lines. It is the role, more importantly, the responsibility of the federal government and the president to stop the trafficking of weapons across state lines. For every shooting in Chicago, there is a gun trafficker in Mississippi making money. There is a gun trafficker in Louisiana profiting off of our pain. And this is a
So wait a minute. You don't want the federal government help, but you need the federal government help. Man, come on, man. I don't believe in this shit no more. I don't believe in that shit no more, man. I mean, I don't mean no harm. Y'all continue to support, and I don't. I say, other than the fact that I feel betrayed by the Democratic Party, consider that we've been supposedly dedicated to the Democratic Party for 60 years, and we've all only seen benign neglect. I'm not in it. Like you said, I'm just one person. My ancestors didn't die for that one, my little one vote. Yeah, this is what y'all got. This person is what y'all got, Mr. Brandon Johnson. This is what we got in Chicago. I live in the suburbs, so I got a different mayor, but still, some of the things that he does impacts out here. Let me see how much this should go. About it's almost done. So I want to get to Kwame Kilpatrick, the mayor. Well, hold on, let's keep going. This guy Kwame.
serious problem that has gone on for far too long, and it requires serious solutions. We wrote a letter to President Biden after a mass shooting in Chicago 2 years ago, asking for more resources to stop gun violence in our city by deploying federal agents to hold these gun traffickers accountable. President Biden responded with more resources and stronger enforcement, and that alone had a significant impact on gun violence in our city. We need President Trump to do the same. Years ago. And this is a serious problem that has gone on for far too long, and it requires serious solutions. We wrote a letter to President Biden after a mass shooting in Chicago 2 years ago, asking for more resources to stop violence in our city by deploying federal agents to hold these gun traffickers accountable. President Biden responded with more resources and stronger enforcement, and that alone had a significant impact on gun violence in our city.
I'm kind of confused with that statement because ICE are federal agents. The National Guard protect federal interests. So, but he also added in and sent resources. So you just want the money without the I guess the muscle. Is that what this is?
Need President Trump to do the same. Instead of using militarized ICE agents to terrify our communities here in Chicago, instead of sending in Border Patrol to our city to detain mothers and fathers who have called Chicago their home for decades, working class people who pay their taxes and make our communities stronger. They should direct those resources to taking down gun traffickers so that we can finally put a stop to the violence. Chicago Police Department had a fighting chance. We could end gun violence in Chicago. But as long as this president allows hundreds of thousands of guns to come into our city, we will always
Do the real Mark. You see how hard he's standing in the paint for illegal migrants. Now, some of the same issues. Well, I say the same issues that go on, that goes on with whatever with them goes on within the black communities of Chicago. But he's standing. The black folks, they ask for the resources. It'll be a tap dance for us. I'm not, like I said, he's the mayor of Chicago, the city. I live in the suburbs, but just theoretically speaking, he is standing so hard in the paint for this. And Donald Trump, man, this is not a gun control speech, sir. You've had time to do that in the past. You've had time to even put policies forward in order to do something about that, at least on a local level. Um, it doesn't take if you got see it doesn't take much to use detectives to find where illegal guns are being bought and sold at. But there's also political interest that would rather see that trafficking uh, proceeding. It might be the red side, might be the blue side, but like I said before, all both sides is one side.
Be fighting an uphill battle. And so our call to the president and to his fellow Republicans who want to weaponize the tragedy of gun violence, the Republicans who want to use the pain of families who have lost loved ones to shootings, and who want to use our city as a punching bag. Our response is that they should get their own house in order before they say anything about the city of Chicago.
Enough, nigga. Enough. Enough.
This president doesn't care about gun violence. He
Come
just
on,
wants.
nigga. Shut
Donald
up.
Trump is the last person in America who cares about families on the south and west side of Chicago.
Come on, B. See, that's that Jasmine Crockett shit, man. That ain't got nothing to do with what's in front of you right now, man. Even if that's how he individually felt, we talking about the city of Chicago. This is why black political representation is a motherfucking joke. This, I'm trying to get past him, but I had to stop right there.
Cut $800 million from violence prevention organizations.
Oh God,
These
he
are
cut
funds that would have gone towards organizations.
800. Did he say 800 million of violence prevention? Man, and he spent 500 million on man. Hold on, let me go back to that.
Donald Trump is the last person in America who cares about families on the south and west side of Chicago. Those who are dealing with violence on a regular basis. The last person. The thought doesn't even cross his mind. If he did, he wouldn't have cut $800 million from violence prevention organizations. These are funds that would have gone towards organizations on the south and west side who are on the front lines driving down gun violence. Wouldn't have cut $468 million from ATF. He wouldn't be sending ICE and Border Patrols to Chicago. He would be sending ATF agents to Mississippi. He would be sending these agents to Indiana. He's worried about
Everywhere else but here, but it comes down. He about to talk about it's about an election, it's about politics, money. He spent 800 million to the violence, bench program 400 solid guns, man, nigga, shit, man. But yet and still, you collecting guns. Did you say? Can you list? Are you going to identify the program that you got these millions of dollars for in order to prevent it? Are you going to identify the program that made that happen, and how the money was spent to make that happen?
the wrong border. We don't have an immigration crisis in Chicago.
You're a
We
liar.
have a gun crisis. And the president could care less about the real solutions. In closing, violence.
Even if he don't, goddamn it, he doing something. You're not doing anything, Brandon. But talking, and the condescension of this individual is just, he really does. They say that certain, but that's not important. They're speaking about other people that talk down on black folks. I found, and I guess it might have to do with the way being able to read people and a certain level of intellectual acumen, because I've read a few books and learned a bit of learning. These people talk worse to you than how you perceive the people on the other side talk to you, because it's slick, and you don't really, and if you're not swift. You won't catch the shit to maybe, I say, a day, a week or later. Some people don't catch the shit that they do until decades later. But I'm glad. I guess we about at the end of this. I kept it under an hour. Um, I thought they were going to put the other two individuals on there, which is fine because they're not necessarily of any consequence. They're going to be talking that same old shuck and jive, Negro, Democrat, black political representation bullshit. They never speak on anything specifically and solely for the benefit of niggas. That's not what America is about. Do you think they'll do anything for just black people? No. Peace and love. I'll holler at y'all on next ground. Hopefully this came out successfully. This is the first time thing.